So one thing I wanted to cover is this concept of how these different nerves that we've encountered so far in the brachial plexus are in fact branching off into the creation of other nerves. But at the same time, after a nerve root branches off, how does a subsequent nerve root still have some of that same root, right? So a great example is our axillary nerve, right? So we remember our axillary nerve is made up of C5 and C6, right? So it comes from root levels C5, C6. Well, the radial nerve, as we know, comes from 5 all the way down to T1. And here's the reason why. If we take a look at this circle, what we see is we see a lot of different colored circles here. Each of those tiny little colored circles inside the bigger circle represents an individual nerve fiber within the entire axon, right? So we have a little colored chart here on the side, so you guys can kind of follow along. So C6 represents all of the red fibers, C7 represents all the orange fibers, C8 represents all of the blue fibers, T1 represents all of the pink fibers. I fully understand I do not have C5 listed in here. 2 reasons. Number 1, I ran out of colored markers. Number 2, I think we'll get the point without having C5 in here as well. And so here's really how it works. So what I want you to think about is I want you to think about this is a cross section of a nerve. So I want you to kind of think about this nerve coming straight at you. When my radial nerve is created, remember my radial nerve is the terminal branch, or one of the terminal branches of the posterior cord of the brachial plexus. My posterior cord is made up of the posterior divisions, right? So when my radial nerve is being formed, it's going to have a lot of these individual nerve fibers. But in terms of my axillary nerve, it's going to have fibers that actually shoot off, right? So if I have fibers that shoot off, for example, my C6 fibers, some of these would come out, and then they would form with C5, and they would all bundle together to form their own axillary nerve. C5 would obviously come in here as well. But notice, and I'm going to circle these in and fill them in, these other red fibers did not branch off. They, for lack of a better term, stayed the course to then turn into the radial nerve. So some of these nerve fibers will branch off, form the axillary nerve. Other nerve fibers will not, and they will form the radial nerve. Same thing is going to happen with nerves like the musculocutaneous nerve. Obviously, we see the lateral pectoral nerve being one of those branches. Some of the fibers will branch off to form the lateral pectoral nerve. Other fibers will not and continue on to form the musculocutaneous nerve. This happens all throughout the human body, not just in the brachial plexus, but the brachial plexus is a really good opportunity to bring it up. I hope this explanation helps out a little bit in your studies.